Don't look. It's a mess. It's a mess. I have this, so I don't have to worry about.
He's gonna flash in, and he steals the Baron!
One of the quickest games in competitive history.
How did that connect my engine? Shockwave on turn 4! Double kill for him on the Jinx! That was disgusting! Carmine Corp damage as EU Masters champions!
Welcome one and all to the Amazon EU Masters. I am Penguin. I am joined by the illustrious Jamada, and it's the first time we've been casting together, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to finally get a cast of you, dude. It's feels like it's been a little bit in the making.
I was just about to say, it feels like it's been a long time coming. Of course, this is going to be my debut, if you will, into the group stages of EU Masters. You've been doing a couple of things, so you can run me through, I'd say, some of the headlines, if you will, specifically from yesterday as well.
Yeah, I think, honestly, yesterday we had a couple of dud games, right, where, especially by the end of the day for Tricked and Penta, nothing really mattered for them. But here, the game's, all in all, very, very exciting. Movistar Riders and Tricked battling out. Pretty close affair, all things considered, I feel like. Tricked, couple different decisions could have seen them win this game by us this decision right here, unfortunately for them. Overextending right in front of the Nexus. Just felt like they could end the game here, and unfortunately for them, when we start, basically teleported to the mid lane, ended the game off the back of this push.
Yeah, you got a little bit too excited, and that meant, of course, disaster there for the side of Tricked. But then we kind of see, again, moving towards that Group B, and it was just very, very much barn burners after barn burners, and it just feel like, particularly this Lissandra yesterday, was a massive pickup into the composition it went into yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally you'll see the Lissandra just picked into the LeBlanc anyway because it is such a strong sort of one-to-one matchup. You can lock it down all the time. But there was like 3 other targets with just loads of mobility in their kit, which meant that Lissandra got so much value. And of course, the Viego yesterday, I believe this is Max Law, absolutely popping off, getting a whole bunch of resets in that team fight. And in general, Max Law been doing really well for the team. As you see there, picking up the trench line hook with
God damn,
the stolen away
Maelstrom.
Yeah, and of course slicing Maelstrom too. Movistar Riders look to be a force to be reckoned with, honestly, moving forward into the tournament. I'm a little bit surprised, but also at the same time, Spain have been doing so well at Amazon European Masters.
Yeah, they really, really have, and we can see it a little bit later when we look at the standings, but this was just very much a tiebreaker scenario, of course, and
yes,
moving forward, it did look like it could have been the, Movistar dropping down a little bit, but they just about held on after losing that winning that second game.
Yeah, skin and teeth stuff, really. I can't remember how long exactly it lasted, around 45 minutes or so.
Maybe it was back and forth.
Yeah, it was very back and forth. Maybe the game didn't have to go on for that long. Depends on how you really look at it. And I believe one of the first Gwens, if not the first Gwen you've seen so far in the tournament too. I can't recall anyone else pulling it out except for Marky. And of course, looked not too terrible either.
No, didn't look the worst in the world. And of course, looking at that one, that was Group B wrapping itself up. And I gotta be the bearer of bad news to you, Jamada. NLC didn't make it in that group, sadly. 2 and 4. They fell just at the final hurdle, and it was the Polish #1 and actually the Spanish #3 making it in 1 and 2.
Yeah, Group B finalized yesterday, of course, with the results. Not too surprised, all things considered. I think the biggest surprise really was Penta not picking up a single game, I think. You would have at least expected them to contest for the top 2 spot, but even Tricked finished above them. But of course, we had Group D finish the day before that. Carmine Corp, Vodafone Giants, Mouse, and Matchco was the order there. Group A will be concluded tomorrow. Misfits, UCAM, Go Rogan, and Northsys play there. But today's games, Penguin, and what we're opening with, Group C, Big Fnatic Rising, Luminar, all tied at 2 and 1. Zero Tenacity trailing behind the pack at 0-3. And here's the schedule.
Yeah, we're going to start off with Big coming up against Z10, and then of course we got Luminar into Fnatic Rising. Those are 2 massive games. Z10 have to win to keep their hopes of any chance of qualifying. It is still technically possible, but they got to take that first game, and then we as in us two, round it off with Fnatic versus Z10 before we hand it off to our second pairing.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I've got some hopium for Z10, man. I don't know. I feel like 0-3 doesn't necessarily represent their overall performance so far in this group. I think it's been a couple of crucial decisions which, you know, maybe they shouldn't have taken, and it just kind of turned the game in their opponent's favor. So we'll see. I mean, you know, pulling off 3-0 day on this, you know, a whole day, it's a very tough ask, and then the results still have to align for them to, at the very least, force a tiebreaker.
Yeah, they're very much not in control of their own destiny, sadly for them, but you got to give it as much as you can as we have a look and see a bit of a preview of this matchup, because Big, the last dark region team left standing, they are the hope of this region coming into this game, and you want to start off strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're Big, Z10, it's a team that you have to just kind of mop out of the way from the get-go if you want to get some momentum building for the rest of the day, especially because your first game is obviously the opening game, and then you're not playing until game 4 today. So a lot of rest to come in between then. But like you say, last team from the Dark region, Mouse and Penna, quite frankly, a little bit underwhelming, a little bit disappointing to see them drop out and not even make it to cause, particularly Mouse as well. But for Big, got to start off strong. Z10 is definitely the opponent that you'd like to take first out of any of the other teams. And Z10, Miracle Run's got to start here. And Big, I feel like for them, maybe the best opponent they could ask for.
Yeah, honestly, I think both teams were pretty happy coming in as this their first game. And like you said, you got to start the miracle run somewhere. I'm coming from the LPL where we just finished off 2 miracle runs right at the end, LNG and WE, of course. But this is where it all begins. And this is why I do love the double round robin to a certain extent. Is that, yes, it can lead to, if you lose, you're kind of out and done with. But at least it's not just single elimination. You get another opportunity, and the best thing you can do is put your best foot forward. And for Z10, they didn't look terrible in their losses. I know that sounds bad, but they're still 0-3, but they were close 3 games.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You look at a team, especially in a group like this, where everyone is 2-1, very competitive, and then you see that 0-3 team, you're like, okay, they must just be getting like wiped every single game, like 20-minute games. No, Z10 honestly had a very solid shot at taking down Fnatic. Their Illuminar game was, I believe, the sort of close one too, and I want to say Big was the sort of that was the game, I believe, where they had the Kassadin. They just took a fight way too early into the game when Kassadin just wasn't on spike. The rest of the team wasn't really on spike either, and from there it just snowballed out of control. But here we are, picks and bans. Trundle removed away from Ryuzaki. His Trundle game in round 1 was particularly strong. He's also run the Lee Sin and the Gragas, so we'll see if he's going to pull out either of those two. But for now, 1/3 of his champion pool banned away.
Yeah, the dog, he just wants to say hello. He just wants to say hi. He has some things to say about this matchup, Jamada. He wants the people to know what's going on. And something that we were talking a little bit just in the pre-game before we came into this as we wait for these picks and bans to come in. You wanted to see Meight on something a little bit proactive. We've seen him on the Kassadin where he wasn't as able to find those opportunities. So you want to see him maybe take up something that has a little bit more agency.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when he was on the Kassadin, Z10 just didn't look like as great a team. And I think a lot of, Z10's strength is when Meight has a little more freedom to move, whether it's towards Mumus on the top side or Mihai and Wojtus to the bottom side. And without the agency, they just look like a much weaker team out of those 3 games. I believe Syndra, and I'm trying to get a sneak peek over at the other side, it was Irelia, the 2 picks, where he had a lot more agency and they just look like a much more threatening team in the early stages of the games.
Well, we'll see now. Finally, we're going to see actually the Irelia banned away, the thing that you just mentioned. We'll go through the bans real quick, just saying Trundle, Thresh, Set, the Irelia, the Twist of Fate, and the Jace. A lot of solo lane priority being put there by Z10, with a little bit more on that bot lane here for Big.
Yeah, definitely so. You can see where the focus lies between both of these teams. And Lee Sin will be the first lock-in for Akabane, most likely. We don't really see too much lane Lee Sin on these patches as we regress through Season 11. So we'll see how Z10 want to respond. Will we see a new champion out of Ryuzaki? Because, of course, Gragas, not necessarily, crazy in the meta, but he has run it. A pick that has risen a lot in recent patches is the Ryze, and it is going to be locked in here, most likely into Might's hands. So already a box ticked off for me. A very proactive champion, likes to attack those side lanes as soon as you hit level 6. And I'm expecting on the opposite side for Big that Rika will probably respond with the Silas, if I had to expect. And I mean, Camille, very strong on the top side. Mumus on this pick in the EBL finals effectively kind of backpacked Z10 to their championship title. So very happy to see him on that one, but it does immediately set out for me, okay, top side likely to be the focus. You get the Realm Warps up there, pick up a strong skirmishing jungler, something that can try and match the Lee Sin. Xin Zhao is still up and available if they want to go down that route. Rika, or I say Eureka, could of course still be seaz's pick. Galio locked in for Big, so trying to respond to some of that side lane pressure on Rakan as well. So a lot of strong engage and follow-up tools immediately for Big for the response.
Yeah, big response there saying, you know, we're just going to team fight you as well. We know you want to try and use the Hextech ultimatum. We're going to try and overload you in those side lanes by just getting people on top of you as quick as possible. Plus the safety with the Galio you get is honestly so potent if you can get into those mid-game team fights. We are going to see Z10 hovering their jungle pick right now.
Pick.
It is a strong pick, but the Viego, in my opinion, is just a tad stronger.
Yeah, if we're talking years, Viego's definitely winning out here. I wouldn't have minded the Olaf, honestly. You know, just being able to Ragnarok through all of the CC over Galio and Rakan, you can kind of one-shot those targets if they're even remotely slowed down or locked up by the Rise of the Camille that are being shown right now. But Viego, of course, loads of strong champions to take the form of Lee Sin, Galio, Rakan, all have very strong non-ultimate abilities. So he's got the pick of the litter when it comes to taking away those forms. But Tristana removed away from Keduii, a very big comfort pick for him. And if they want to keep on going down that route, we might also see them remove away something like Kai'Sa. And I think with the diving-esque composition that Big currently have, Kai'Sa could be a pretty big pickup for Big. So I would expect that to maybe be the second bat for Z10.
I won't lie, I did not miss saying big as a word to describe something large.
It's something I'm going to have to.
Yeah. We're both going to have to do it. I think we both said it twice or 3 times now. We're saying it's a big pick for Big, damn it. And let's wait to see as they come into the final bans. They're just going to take away the Ezreal, so getting rid of some of that safety. They recognize that this game so far, if you're looking at the two teams, a lot of volatility, and with the Ezreal now being taken away, it does take away that safety that you would normally have.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, thinking about it, Z10's draft right now, it looks like they probably want to play towards the top side, and they maybe don't want to necessarily give such a free scaling, you know, 2 IM spike AD carry like the Ezreal away to Keduii. And on top of that, of course, if for whatever reason in game, you know, things don't go to plan, they can't necessarily play to that Camille, and they want to try and play towards the bot side, all of a sudden you've got the hypermobility of that lane duo plus a Galio to cover. It just becomes a little bit too overbearing. But Big removing away 2 CC champions that have a relatively good matchup into Rakan, the Leona, and the Nautilus, so that does make a whole bunch of sense. And Z10 doing the right thing here, locking in their support matchup now. They'll get the counter pick on that AD role too, so Mihai's going to have the pick of the layer on that one, and Alistar will be Wojtus's lock-in here. And it gives him good follow-up and disengage.
Yeah, I was just about to mention the disengage. Yes, it's great at going in with everybody, but you're looking at a Galio Rakan. You can just headbutt them away. You can keep your AD carry safe. It's going to be a lot on the support's shoulders to make sure that the key carries of Z10 are kept safe and away from the massive AoE CCs that you'll get from the side of Big.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at Big's team composition right now, I feel like it's gonna spike really hard at that sort of 1.5, 2 IM mark between the Galio, Lee Sin, and that Varus, but I worry for the later game stages. Something like Gwen could definitely band-aid that a little bit, I feel. But when you're staring down the barrel of, you know, Camille, Ryze, and potentially a hyperscaling AD carry out of mihai, I think sort of post that 25-30 minute mark, if Big don't necessarily close out the game, things could get a little bit tricky. But Gwen will be locked in that topside matchup for Melonik.
Yeah, they're going to get the Gwen in here. Of course, has hit a lot of nerfs since her release. Of course, the Q not as good, level 1. Still fantastic AoE survivor in all considered, as we now see what the last pick is going to be here for Z10. They are hovering between a couple of different matchups that they wanted. Okay. Seraphine in the AD carry role. That's a Seraphine Alistar bot lane that's going to be able to wave clear for days.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so the Seraphine definitely gonna be very strong in terms of like buffing up the Viego, buffing up the Camille if we start to see sort of Death Ball roll out. But at the same time, I feel like Big, at the kind of time where Seraphine would like to group the Z10 members up, Big are likely to be very strong and happy to also skirmish. So in terms of, you know, those kind of time frames, I'm unsure about the Seraphine matchup, but I will say, like you say, the wave clear, very strong in the bottom side. It does give Wojtus the opportunity to sort of probably roam away, you know, pre-6. There shouldn't be too much dive threat onto that Seraphine unless it's a free man. And Wojtus teaming up with Ryuzaki to try and affect that mid lane matchup or even the top side matchup, I think is a very strong win condition for Z10.
And honestly, I love this as well. You look at the side of Big, who are all trying to jump in on top of you, get into your face. Seraphine's charm, Seraphine has sustain. You have so many ways of disengaging from that. So we'll see if Z10 are able to execute on it, because Big, they got some engaged tools. They're going to be hungry for blood, and we're going to see some different moves around the side lanes, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think side lane is going to be very crucial when you've got Gwen Camille in the game. It can set up for a lot of volatility. And of course, when you're talking about Galio, who wants to go and affect the side lanes, pretty much on cooldown, or off cooldown rather, with his ultimate. And the same thing for the Realm Warp out of the Ryze. Expect a whole bunch of action, especially when you take into consideration Lee Sin and Viego typically love to get pretty active in the early game. But we're here for the first game of the day, Big taking on Z10. Z10 on the ropes, really. They've got to win this game to keep their hopes alive. Because if they lose here, I'm pretty sure that's it for them. There's not many scenarios where they get out.
Not really a lot they can do about it. Of course, win today. You gotta pick up 3, Z10. You gotta be able to pick up 3 wins, 1, 2, 3, and then you gotta hope that there's a rock, paper, scissors scenario between Big, Fnatic Rising, and Illuminar Gaming. You gotta make sure that Big beats Fnatic, Fnatic beats Illuminar, Illuminar beats Big, because that is how you force a 4-way tie basically between absolutely everybody. And even then, depending on who loses to who and who would, you know, all the different head-to-heads, it's very much a big if and when, or rather than when, you can get in. But I do like this ward. Good little bit of vision there available to the side of Z10. They will know that the jungler is on that bot side, so we'll be pathing up towards top. And this is where I want to ask you a question of, where are we expecting to see the action? Where do you think that it's, you know, both these teams are going to be looking for their opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Akabane, you know, he's got a lot of setup in the mid lane. Likely wants to pair up with Rika to affect those side lanes. Try and get first move. Galio in the early stages, a lot of strong lane priority. But Ryze also no slouch either. But I think when you're standing up to Galio, it's going to be very difficult. So I expect, you know, action maybe towards the mid lane from Big. But if not, they're going to try and move it up towards the top side would be my expectation. I think if you try and set this Gwen ahead of the Camille, she can really take over the matchup for quite a substantial amount of time. And for Z10, I think Ryuzaki, plenty of options kind of across the board, right? You want to try and set up the side lane for success in the Camille. You have a lot of setup through the Rune Prison in the mid lane, but also once he Meight has access to that Realm Warp, moving to the bottom side or the top side at will becomes a lot easier. Yeah, so no, it's okay.
I now realize, but I am back apparently, so I'm glad to have it. I was actually expecting it to be a Jamada X Dogcast, which honestly I think the people want more.
No, hey, we'll see. Maybe we get some.
That's no insult against me, man. If there's a dog casting a League of Legends game, I'm watching it. Like, that's just a fact. Like, I don't care what game it is. I'm watching that game. That'd be incredible.
Yes, it would be, but Z10, mihai got poked out quite heavily, but has the pots, and of course, Seraphine will have the sustain as time goes on. But Akabane actually decides to path back down towards the bottom side. He's got priority on the bottom side, of course, but no mid lane prior. Looking towards Meight, though. A little bit Rika got the setup.
Oh, we got the setup. They're going to be forcing the flash, but the taunt is just far enough. They are nearly trading it, but it is first blood going over to Big. Nicely done there to get an advantage in mid.
Yeah, and with Meight not having flash anymore and Rika still having flash, the return gank is just such an easy setup there as Rika almost drops the tower shot, clearing that wave, and Big's bottom lane trying to set up the skull. Well, Akabane looks like they will just about get it.
Yeah, they're going to try and maybe go for something a little bit afterwards. Flash forward into the headbutt, pulverized, but doesn't get the first target. Now the TP can be used, the exhaust and the root is there. Flash forward, knock up, no flash for the Alistar means that he is dead meat, turned into mincemeat, and that is a nice little pickup here for Big.
Yeah, overcommit from Z10. Big just punish appropriately. Honestly, there's no real need to skirmish there. At that point, you've already lost the skull, you just lost your mid laner too. This isn't really your territory to skirmish in. Big gonna win out massively here. They're gonna move up towards the top side. Akabane's gonna secure this skull as well, so that's double skull, almost the full clear. He's gonna set himself quite far ahead in this jungle matchup. And I mean, if he can also even maybe get set up onto Mumus here, trying to get this wave in, but I think that would just be all she wrote on the play here is Ryuzaki. Maybe eyeing up the bottom side, but I think the wave in too safe a position right now.
Yeah, it is pushing in, but they may try and force it. You can see there, they're trying to just get this wave to crash and maybe look for a dive. There is a TP available to Mumus, who also has the Ignite as well. So this looks like with him sitting in base, they're trying to maybe look for this play, but they can't quite crash the wave. Now, they finally have done it. They're going to try and see if they can get this one. TP is committed. There you can see another TP from the top lane. So the Gwen, the Camille joining down here. It's going to be a 4v3, 4v4, as they finally get the Varus down. The Ignite goes off, but they just did perfectly well to kite out the damage. Very, very good answer here from Z10.
Yeah, big win for Z10. They're going to deny away the wave from Keduii, and not only that, if you look at the top wave, Melonik didn't get to shove that one out, so it's actually going to slow push into Mummus, so really good of Akabane to try and get this fast shoved in, make Mummus miss as much as possible out of this top wave. Real nice play from Z10. They had the wave stacked. Ryuzaki maybe thought about backpedaling on the play, but Mummus in base with teleport advantage and the tempo advantage too, which means that he's able to commit his teleport down there and make that play work.
Yeah, really, really nicely done. And it was looking a little bit dire after that mid lane skirmish there from the side of Z10. They lost 2 kills, lost a couple of summoners as well. Wasn't feeling great about it, but good answer now. Puts them only about 500 or about 1,500, I should say, gold behind. But now, with the mid lane push and top lane as well, it means that the side of Big have themselves an opportunity to get in the face of the jungler of Z10. Make sure he's uncomfortable. Make sure he cannot just go for it, but they're going to try and maybe trade this one back. Lee Sin kick available, as is the hero's entrance, but Z10 recognizing they cannot go for the fight. They need to back themselves up and get themselves back into the lanes.
Yeah, that's a really early level 6 for Akabane, actually. Just about 6 minutes on the dot. Being able to pick up some of the solo lane XP as well as the double skull kills and assists. Yeah, I mean, this is just perfect setup here for Mummus. Melonik could actually be ticking over to 6 as well. Yeah, Mummus is probably just dead. Rika's on his way as well.
Yeah, he's going to look for it. He's going to use the Dragon's Rage kick, lands the Sonic Wave. He does have a hook shot, but there's 3 members here. Hextech Ultimatum is available as they're going to try and maybe lock him underneath a tower. He doesn't have time to use it. Trying to find the perfect mark. Doesn't find it at all. Means that Big get themselves a response top side.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Mummus. Just victim of the free man. It's the top lane experience, really. But stellar play from Big to move Rika up on top of Akabane as well. Makes for a free dive, and Rika didn't even commit the hero's entrance either, as behind enemy lines on the bottom lane. Okay.
Oh, not able to go for it. This is a little bit of a mismatch, as you do still have the hero's entrance coming straight in. This Alistar is dead, and oh dear, Jamada, it's kind of falling apart. We're only 7 minutes in.
Yeah, it is falling apart. The patience of Big paying off, because Rika still had the ultimate to make his way to that bottom side play, on top of being at the top side of the map as well. Z10 trying to be proactive where they can, but it's just not working out for them entirely so far. Let's see how things progress. I mean, 3,000 gold down or 2,500 gold down at almost 8 minutes isn't exactly the most comfortable position in the world to be in, but they still do have a lot of scaling to lean on. Get a replay of this fight here as Hex Flash just pulls short, unfortunately, as you see the pole in the bush.
Not quite over the wall.
Yeah, not quite over the wall, and Rika's here to lock up the Alistar and give the kill credit over to Keduii. So again, real nice attempt by Z10 to try and cut off the rotation, but execution isn't quite there, and Rika makes it a numbers disadvantage.
Yeah, but we see a numbers advantage right now for Z10 as they try and get control over this Rift Herald. Mummus walking forward, seeing if he can do a little bit of damage. There is a Realm Warp coming in. No, they actually do not take it. That baits in Mummus, the top laner. The rest of his team wasn't going to join him anyway. That's just really unfortunate, but now they try and turn this one around. Nice encore to catch out the Lee Sin. That's going to be a good reset. Lands a Sonic Wave, trying to jump back onto the Galio. Not quite able to get the kill damage down there, but good response here from Z10, but they're kind of moving forward with the idea of they need to find kills thick and fast. They're going to try and find them to Rakan, the course to heal, and everyone jumps back into this. It's an all-out brawl. 5v4, 4v4, 3v4. It's now a 3v2 as the rest of Z10 just cannot get the damage down. You can see the Ryze pushing forward, but they will not take the Rakan. Z10 opted in for that fight, but Big just had all the answers.
Yes, they have all the answers. Their champions are just stronger at this moment in time. Lee Sin, the Galio, it's just too difficult to skirmish, and crucially as well, Mummus died at the very start of this play. Like you said, the Realm Warp just wasn't taken by any of Z10, so Mummus is kind of just a sitting duck here. As turnaround real strong onto Lee, and he is removed from the fight pretty much immediately. Lee form taken by Ryuzaki, and it means they are able to push Big out of their jungle, but they could probably just retreat at this point, even though they are somewhat being pincered in this choke. The likelihood is that if they just move out and don't commit to anything more, they can just take what they had and leave, but unfortunately, a little bit too red in the eyes, they get a little bit too greedy. They overcommit, and unfortunately, Big punished them yet again.
And the big thing as well is that Z10 are forcing all these fights as if they have to go for it, whereas Big are the ones just answering it all. And you look at the champions they have, the Gwen, the Lee Sin, the Galio, hell, even the Rakan, things that have survivability, things that have escapes to get away from you. It just doesn't feel like that's the start of play you want to be going for. It's now a 3,500 gold lead, so every time we look at it, it seems to be going up by 1,000, and Big are just taking up 206 on this Galio. He's huge.
Yeah, absolutely, and I kind of said at the start of the game, you know, Akabane, Rika, probably the members you want to look at this game, but Rika in general has been having a pretty fantastic Amazon European Masters. Even in the game he lost to Fnatic, he was definitely getting the better hand of DORs. Speaking of, moving towards the bottom side of a support and jungler, maybe thinking about a dive, but I think Dragon, the more likely pick up here as Herald as well, was secured, I believe, off the back of that play in the blue side jungle of their own. So they're also going to have that trading tool to use somewhere on the map.
Yeah, pretty much all going in favor of Big right now. They are pushing themselves forward to hopefully getting themselves out of groups and maybe looking for that second elusive EU Masters title, as we're going to go into a little bit of history there, but I don't think I've got enough time. As Akabane now here, they are going to force the flash. There is the teleport being channeled alongside the Rift Herald. Now we're going to see the Dragon's Rage kit, but a good little encore keeps everybody locked up underneath the tower. They cannot follow up. This botch dive not really working out so great for the side of Big as they lose two, maybe even a couple more. As you can see now, the Heartbreakers coming down, shut down, given over to this Viego. Still a little bit of life in Z10.
Yeah, definitely so. Great response from Z10, and like we said, the Viego, he's got so many strong champions to pick up if he does manage to siphon the form. You've got the Lee Sin, the Galio, Rakan, all have some kind of CC or just high damage in Lee Sin's case. It makes finding chain resets that much easier. Meight as well. Nice teleport to aid that bomb side divers. Pull up the replay, and honestly, you kind of understand it. Big, they've got the Herald, they want to pick up some plates, they feel like they can actually get the dive on, but it's Galio that teleports first, and like you say, great flash to Encore, buys enough time, and Galio only really finds a taunt onto one, as the rest of Z10 retreat and pick off members one by one. Even Keduii eventually ends up underneath the tower because he has to overcommand. He's the one taking aggro by the time the dive is done. Just poor execution all in all.
Yeah, really a little bit of overzealousness there for Big. You're ahead, but you're not that far ahead. Yeah, you got to give a little bit of respect. And again, we talked about the massive potency of these massive ultimates, the Encore, hell, even the Heartbreaker as well. You know, you have ways of getting into this fight and resetting everything off of it. And this is where Z10 could find their opportunities if these kind of mistakes continue to happen. But for Big, I have a feeling they're going to calm it down just a little bit, bring themselves up towards those first items, and maybe look to fight around the big objectives rather than a turret dive.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was about to say. I want to see Big now, you know, not necessarily have to slow the game down entirely, but play more on their terms, right? They've got pretty much full control of the map right now. They've got first move almost anywhere they go. See, has a bit of a nuisance here with Ryuzaki. Just play to your numbers at the moment, because Z10, they are not strong enough to skirmish. Just only really Ryuzaki that's got that first item to his name, and even then, can probably be dealt with the amount of CC that you have in your champions between the Galio, the Rakan, and the Varus, as long as you play to make sure that he can't get those chain resets. So, you know, whether it's sending them to the top side to pick off that tower with free plates, or a repeat play towards the bottom side, Momus doesn't have teleport anymore, so it could honestly be an option for them.
Absolutely. We're going to have a little bit of a lull. I say there's not really going to be a fight until I'm going to guess about 2 minutes, 18 seconds. That's when we should be seeing another, realistically, when these two teams want to go at each other again. And we mentioned it a little bit just before we get into this game, but Big are the last team for the DACH region. You know, these are the last representatives for this you know, ERL, and it's a big responsibility to say that none of your teams might be able to make it to quarterfinals. You have to come out with the win here to show the rest of the European circuit that you have the tools to make it work. As I say that, they're going to make the move right now. They get the taunt, they get the charms, they get the Everfrost down. The Heartbreaker going to try and keep Ryuzaki alive, but he's just going to fall to the ignite. Nicely done there, and the power of vision is enough to get Big the pick. Oh, never mind. Sonic Wave perfectly placed. Akabane makes it a 2 for none.
Yeah, great aim from Akabane, and again, like we said, Big first move everywhere. They had vision control in the river. Z10 just didn't sweep it. End of conversation. Nothing else to really say about it. As long as they locked down Ryuzaki in that bush, didn't even get to flash away from the play. And that's pretty much all they have to worry about for now. Meight and Momus a long way away from hitting those big iron spikes where, you know, the Ryze starts to become scary. Those overloads start to hit for 300, 400, 500, 600 a pop. Of course, Momus, he might have picked up the Divine Thunder on this base, but Camille, not really a scary threat until that 2 iron mark when it comes to those sort of small dragon skirmishes or the bigger ones.
All dragons, you know, big or small, it doesn't matter. That'd be kind of cool, actually, if the dragons changed in size. Yeah, it's like the buff is bigger or smaller, depending, kind of similar to TFT with the dragon eggs. It's just like bigger or smaller ones that gets a bigger or better prize. I don't know. Maybe Riot should hire me as a game designer, or probably not. As we come back in to what the game is, it's been incredibly chaotic. 17 kills in 15 minutes. We are seeing the first items being picked up now as well. The Riftmaker here for Melonik. We have got the Gore Drinker for the Lee Sin, Everfrost, of course, which we touched upon. We look on the other side of it, double Divine Sunderer, and you might be in a hell of a lot of trouble here. He tries to get himself over the wall. They're going to use the Realm Warp as well as the flashes to try and 100% secure this one. It took 3 members, but the shutdown goes over to Z10. These are the kind of things they need to be picking up.
Yeah, absolutely. Got so much CC between the Ryze, between the Alistar. And it's right on time for the Dragon too, so this is going to be a slowdown on Big's Dragon tempo in terms of being able to pick up an early Soul and Ocean Mountain. Hoping, you know, normally I would say I don't want a Cloud, but there's quite a few strong ultimates and champions that can utilize that Cloud Soul pretty effectively, so I wouldn't even mind it showing up. But Inferno is what you want to see. You've got so many damage champions in this game.
Yes, we got Inferno.
Yeah. you feel like kind of, you know, primitive caveman. Yes, Inferno Soul, more damage.
Fire hot. Literally, that's literally, fire, yes. Wind, no. That's exactly. I just basically did every League of Legends fan watching pro games. It's honestly even as a caster, I feel like that as well. But yeah. Either way, you'll take a soul regardless of the type it is. You'll take any kind of extra advantage you possibly can. Now with the siege in this mid lane, we are going to see Big maybe look to try and take this one down, but something we never really got a chance to talk about. They're incredibly short range. Trying to get this turret down, trying to get any kind of siege on is very, very difficult for them if Z10 are in the vicinity.
Yeah, especially when you take into consideration the amount of wave clip that, honestly, just either the Seraphine or the Ryze can provide if they're present. In most cases, probably have to dive these members to have a solid chance of taking down full HP towers. Of course, that mid lane tier 1 is so low that it should just about go down now, and it will in conjunction with that bottom side tower. So Big pick up 2 towers at the same time, and with everyone's position on the map, it looks like Mumus will get this one solo. As Meight was on the top side, but with the Herald, looks like it's just going to be an up trade in towers and gold. They can get that tower low enough, almost at the threshold where the Herald will kill it. Tier 2 as well. About 200 gold between every member there, 188. Not bad at all. So they're going to maintain their gold lead of about 4,000.
Yeah, doing very, very well. They just keep the tempo up, having that Rift Herald in pocket, moving around the map as quickly as they can, recognizing as well that Mumus doesn't have TP, or at least wasn't around it very quickly, so the idea of a teleport play not really available to them. And this game is starting to slow down just a little bit, but it does feel like it is Big being more proactive. It feels like Big roaming around, getting the more advantageous plays seems to be the moment right now. So Z10, they got to find an opportunity to try and stop that momentum, to get themselves back in this game and stem the bleeding.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to bring up Z10's game against Fnatic Rising, because that was a game where they were very good at doing that, where they would hold Fnatic in their tracks, really. Any play they tried to make on the side lane, they would respond. And I don't really feel like it had anything to do with their champions. It was just good map reads from them to recognize, okay, Fnatic Rising have just left this area, the fog, our fog of war is here. They're probably going to make a play top. And they would just consistently shut it down for the first 15 to 20 minutes. And it's what almost gave them their win in that match. Unfortunately, just fell short in some team fights later on. So
Yeah,
if they can pull up in this game, because I feel like compared to that game, team fighting into Big's team composition should benefit them a little bit more.
Should be able to do it. I do love the Serpents fans pick up here by Keduii, because it's Seraphine. There is going to be so many shieldings. There's going to be so many ways of surviving. Great way of just mitigating that a little bit. Yes, it's not the most efficient in terms of the actual damage you get off it, because you are ranged, but still very good in this mid stage to say, look, we know we're stronger. And speaking of knowing we're stronger, Big are just moving towards this top side, getting vision control. There's nothing that Z10 can do. And honestly, they might just be able to take this turret or take the fight, or both.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if they can find a key target, wouldn't be surprised to see them actually pull the trigger on a fight. But top tier 2 be the prime target as Chains Crusher went out, and whoa!
Oh, they're going to invest absolutely everything down. They're not even going to land the encore. Z10 are not really in a position to fight this one. It's now a 5v3 against them. Big finding all of those ultimates right on top of Mumus, and there is just nothing he can do, and they've got to be a bit careful. Lucky for Z10, there is no Baron up, but I feel like Big would have felt happy to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Baron would usually be slow, but 20 minutes on spawn Baron, it's only about 10,000 HP. Not a lot to burn through. Would have been a bit of a flip of Ryuzaki up, but even turning and picking up more members could yield very beneficial in terms of maybe setting up for the next dragon. But big, they find not only the tower, but a couple of kills on top of that. Z10 just not able to respond to the full force of what the German team are putting down. As we get a replay, Chains Corruption comes over the wall, locks down Mumus. Just from there, they're able to layer in enough CC and damage to make sure that he doesn't get to escape, and or just tries to save his top laner, but pretty much in vain, as Rico almost finds enough chain CC to bring in more kills to their side, but Flash is burned. It means that no more Z10 members will drop.
And that's the big thing, though, as well, is that for Z10, you've lost key summoners as well. Might's Flash, you know, the Seraphine's Flash, you've lost the Exhaust as well. So there's a lot of key summoner spells just before this dragon spawns. That means that you're probably not going to be able to contest this one either. So this game is slowly coming out of your grasp. It's a 5,500 gold lead. You're not really able to play side lanes just yet. As I say that, they've actually double stacked on this side wave to see if anyone will try and contest Might. But it's just too quick from Big, and you're not really able to contest. With a Seraphine, you can't really wave clear that great right now because you're only sitting on that one item.
Yeah, exactly. And we said Z10, the scaling for them is there, right? Camille, monstrous post 2 items. Ryze at that mark now with the Archangel's pickup, with the Everfrost obviously being the mythic completion. Ryze is ready to fight. The rest of the team now isn't really. I mean, Ryuzaki just picked up a Sterax too. So, you know, if we hadn't seen, you know, so many kind of overcommitments earlier on in the game, maybe at this point they'd be ready to fight. But I feel like now they might have to just wait out a little bit longer, leave mihai to maybe hit 2 items as well. Maybe they can think about picking up some skirmishes somewhere. As the game goes on, I feel like Big's composition can definitely fall off in damage anyway, but when you're talking about standing up to Camille, Ryze, even Seraphine can deal a deceptive amount of damage, to be honest with you. The task will get taller for them if they don't continue this pace.
Big thing for Big, I'm gonna have to start figuring out another word, is that they have control over those side lanes. I say that we are gonna see Keduii just getting jumped on. There's the Galio ultimate though onto 3. They're gonna have the Encore coming down. It only lands down onto the Galio, and there's just no extra follow-up. They just weren't respecting the ultimates and the TPs that could come out. 3 quick kills, Baron on the cards.
It's just a free delivery for Big into the hero's entrance with the Realm Warp. I don't know if I want to say unfortunate timing or not, but hey, it's happened the way it has. Z10 lose their solo laners and the support. Ryuzaki's up, but on the bottom side of the map. So it should just be a pretty free Baron pickup, and with this, Big keeping the tempo high, should be able to crack open the base and potentially even more of this Baron with the gold lead they find themselves with. Around 8,000 in total there, so you'd expect them at the very least to crack open the base with no more inner or outer towers left. Z10, they've got to just kind of pray that their wave clear can get them through this one, or Big maybe overcommit on a dive at their base.
Yeah, we look at the replay here now, and they think they find an opportunity here, but there's just too many globals. You can't 100-0 someone when you're just not able to get on top of them as quick.
It's the Realm Warp on top of the Grand Entrance and Hero's Entrance at the same time. All of this chain CC, you know, Mumus might caught in the middle of it. There's nothing they can really do, and for me, I'm really questioning the Seraphine because we come back out into live. And,
oh no.
Mincemeat on the screen. I just feel like if we see mihai on a traditional AD carry, it kind of balances, you know, the scope of the game out maybe. I feel you have a little more consistent damage as time goes on, physical damage rather, to mix with the Ryze. Make life easier.
Oh no, he's caught, he's dead, there's nothing left to do. Big pushing forward, burning summoners, taking down towers. They may look to try and end the game right here, right now. They are 5v3. Not really a lot the side of Z10 can do. You gotta give something here, lads. This is your final swan. This is the one time you gotta be able to put it all together and try and make it work. But I just don't think they have enough damage. I don't think they have the health bars. I don't think they've got enough time. It's going to be Big padding their stats, getting themselves some better KDAs, and taking themselves a 3-1 in this group.
Yeah, good way for Big to start off the day with a win. They're not going to be playing until game 4, so a lot of time to watch the other teams play. In particular, Fnatic as well, who will be playing 2 games in a row after this one. So a lot of scouting to see what they can get done, but 3-1 now. As Z10 moved down to 0-4, I'm pretty sure that knocks them out of quarterfinal contention, unfortunately, for themselves.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I will triple check that, but we'll have a look at that in the break. We're going to try to send it to that when we return. We'll break down that game a little bit more in depth. We'll see you soon.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Amazon European Masters. We just had, of course, Big taking... Welcome back. The freeze frame looks so funny.
I had a bit of tech issues, so
Yes.
I immediately just like said to Jamada, I was like, take intro. He was like, what?
I had it in the bag almost. Big, of
got
course,
it, you
taking
got
down Z10. Very dominating performance coming out from the Dark Region team, and Z10 didn't really have much of a leg to stand on, just a couple of overcommits here and there. This is definitely one of the biggest ones for me that, I'm not going to say sealed the deal, but it started the domino effect for Big to just take over the game here. With Z10, they had a scaling composition. I just feel like they didn't really play to those conditions, and Big had such a strong composition at that 1 iron mark, you know, the mythics, and then the 2 iron mark as well. Just kind of played into Big's conditions for winning early skirmishes and team fights.
Yeah, honestly, I think this was just Z10 looking a bit panicked, looking a bit like they didn't really know exactly where they wanted to go. They felt like they had to get an early advantage to try and snowball, and picking the Seraphine bot side, I don't think it's a terrible pick. I just think that there are things that do what it does better, and the thing I was thinking of was probably the Ziggs. You pick up the Ziggs in this particular matchup, it could have done the exact same thing, but with a lot more safety. Yes, you lose the big AoE ultimate, but you gain the big AoE damage, and it just didn't really come together. And honestly, I feel like Big weren't really challenged at all. I felt like they were playing reactively, but comfortably reactively.
Yeah, and when Big weren't playing reactively and had the opportunity to play proactively, it just felt like it was pretty doomed for Z10. And this was the final nail in the coffin for the EBL team.
Oh, they
Kinda
parted
just
like the Red Sea.
hand delivering themselves into that wombo combo for Big there. Just about every form of CC hit their carry members, and you can just see it's definitely reflected very accurately in the gold graph. Big just progressively got further and further ahead.
Yeah, the gold and damage, and honestly every single stat, it just felt like it was a Z10 throwing everything at the wall, and sadly for them, nothing stuck. So it was an unfortunate turn of events there for Z10. That means that, of course, they are pretty much outdone, dusted. Yeah. They can only go 2 and 4, which means the way the bracket is working and maths and stats and all that good jazz means they won't have enough wins. So Z10 from the Balkans will be dropping. EBL will not be feeling too great about that one there, but they still have a couple more games left. They could still play spoiler.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the big thing, right? Playing spoiler. It's happened already. I believe it was Group D. I can't remember off the top of my head. I have bad memory, but yeah, spoiler, definitely a possibility, especially after the first round robins games where Z10 did put up a very strong contest against everyone else in the group, just fell a little bit short. So we'll see if that is the case for them, because they can definitely do that at the very least. But commiserations to them. I'm still looking forward to the rest of the day regardless. Z10 still got to play Fnatic, and Fnatic after the break, which will be relatively soon, taking on Luminar as well. So 2 Fnatic games back-to-back, that's going to be 2 games back-to-back where Big get to watch their opponents play, because they'll be playing Game 4.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is a big opportunity now for any of the top 3 teams in this group to make a statement, push themselves forward and get it. We are going to toss it to a break, and when we return, we will be setting up for our second game of the day between 2 of our top 3 teams. Don't go anywhere.